while I hold this up, because it's quite heavy, Priscilla's new book, which will be launched this afternoon, this evening. And, oh, Ravi's holding it for me, that's beautiful. Thank you very much. Christopher, you will have read, those of you who are here, began his teaching career at the School of Architecture in Ahmedabad, having graduated from Harvard and MIT.
Explain to you the trial and tribulations of organizing an architect to get all his work together into this magnum opus that is you're about to witness.
This book over 20 different cities, and I must say the most wonderful book release would be this one. What a way to celebrate the opening of a book with a dance and evocation of all the divine forces. I think it's very wonderful. I think I've witnessed all kind of boring talks and philosophical talks in auditoriums, and this is a wonderful setting amongst Ramli's friends and my family, and it's very beautiful. So to talk about the book was an accident. It was not something which we had planned. About a couple of years back, Christopher and I were in Dhaka, of all the places, on May Day lecture series. We were giving a talk, and it just so happens to be that the editor of Schira Rizzoli, one of the world's leading publishing house from Milan in Italy, was sitting next to me, and without any knowledge about her, I was sitting next to her. And Christopher finished his 1-hour talk about showing his work in India over the last 45 years of his journey as an architect in different avatars. I say avatars because Christopher had 3 different careers in the same profession. First as an institution builder, building many notable institutes of architecture and design in India. Second, as a World Bank consultant, designing cities and regional plans and doing social planning, working at the grassroots levels. And finally, when I stepped into his life in 1995, we started the firm together about 22 years back. It just so happened that I was a very good bookkeeper, let's put it this way. I had documented his works without realizing that 20 years later, at that time, that this would actually turn out to a magnum opus that today we are going to release. And so this lady who was sitting next to me in Dhaka, she said, there has ever been a book published on Christopher Benninger's work, because he qualifies in the reverse migration category, somebody coming from America and settling down in India, which was something which is a rarity in our part of the world. People go to America for the good life, but he came to India in search of the beautiful life. So that so happens. And then she said that I would like to publish the book, and then if you're okay with it. And then she flew down with a contract, signed it, and we were given about 3 to 6 months to publish the book. And that was something that she wanted to put it in the Milan Book Fair, and then the Venice Biennale and this Triennale and whatnot, and so we had to rush. It's just fortunately that we just happened to have like our documentation and photographs and drawings, everything meticulously kept, so we could put it together, and that turned out to be a book. So the book is now out, and this would be a year from the time it was born in March last year. It was released for the first time in New York at American Institute of Architects and Rizzoli headquarters in New York. And this Kuala Lumpur would be the last city for its release. So we started with West, and we are ending with the easternmost part that we know. So having said that, I think we are blessed to have great friends. We have blessed to have such beautiful memories. Ramli happens to also be an accident of our life. We met him accidentally, and we cherish each other, we love each other, and there is a soulful connection to us. Thank you, Ramli, for everything.
Thank you, Ram Prasad Agiseti, and now the master himself, Professor Dr. Christopher Bellinger, will talk about his creation. You want this?
Thank you, Doctor. I'm surrounded by Ram and Ram Lee. You wouldn't realize if you had a life surrounded by a Ram and a Ram Lee. Ram Lee is very naughty, but in his naughtiness a kind of genius comes out. When he says that dancers are also architects and designers, I want to say that architects are also choreographers. We deal with people moving in space. We deal with mudras. Ram Lee gave a lovely lecture at India House, our place in Pune, about 2 years ago, and he talked only of mudras. In fact, I photographed all of his diagrams, which are still in this camera I'm carrying, because I realized that architecture also deals with maybe 24 mudras, single hand, maybe 13 double-handed mudras, and that we architects can learn a great deal from these symbolism, the iconography of dancers. And so a link came in my mind between Ram Lee's work and my work, and I'm terribly honored that he called me here tonight to release our book here. I'm also honored that our Excellency, the High Commissioner of India, is with us. It's a great honor, sir, to have you with us. We also have the ambassador from Belgium here tonight. That's also a great honor. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm honored to be here, and it's really one of the very pleasant honors of my life to be here. Thank you.
But only after reading this extraordinary book did I realize that what Mahatma Gandhi said has several layers of meaning. What he said about cultures is as true for a house as it is for a culture. So I was absolutely thrilled to be invited here, and the book, which is really a saga if you read it, I would just like to say I was very happy because my office is in India, is in the building which was designed by him. And reading it, I was really fascinated. Because one of the things which struck me, for example, is that he has set out in one of his chapters the principles of an intelligent urbanization. If that is the principle. He's got 10 principles there. And if you read them, it is so beautiful to read those principles. He talks about the balance with nature. He talks about the balance with harmony as an architecture, about the heritage, about the history, about the precedence of design, which he says weaves the past and the future together in a continuity of values. See how beautiful this is. It's a continuity of values. He's not talking about a building, he's not talking about a kitchen or a dining room. It is about values. He talks about many other things, conviviality, for example. And he talks about how it should bring together people in such a way that it promotes logical discussion and debate and rational consensus. That's architecture. And in his opportunity matrices, he talks beautifully about how a city actually promotes the personal, the social, and the economic development of the place. And he finishes with the fact that ultimately it is to develop and bring about the potential of an individual. And he says that in his opinion, the cities are there for a humanity's rustic nature to be transformed into refined civility. That is what he says is about cities. So I was really fascinated when I read it. And at least when I read it, I realized that, as he himself said, that he was bored with this so-called dull academia. And he was saying that it's really the emotive energy which he gets from meeting people, the positive energy which gets from meeting people, which has helped him to get wisdom and to do what he did. His love for architecture. That's what he says in his book. And then his love for architecture asks him to ask those questions about life. Who am I? Why do I build? Do I have a lien on eternity? These are the questions which he asks in his book. Just imagine how a beautiful thing this whole concept of architecture is. And then he concludes that he says, in the end, it is all about good life, which underpins everything. That's what he says. What is good life? Ultimately, his conclusion is that you have to be a good human being to be a good architect. As they say, the good buildings are produced by good people. And that's his conclusion. And what is interesting about this is that when you go back a little bit in our own history, we have what is called the Vastu Vidya, which is the knowledge of architecture, which dates back to the Vedas. The first contextual reference is the Rig Veda, and then we have the Atharva Veda, then we have the Sutras, we have the Puranas, we have many things which talk about Vastu. Of course, Vastu is not about where to put your chair in the dining room. There is something beyond that, because these days people misunderstand the concept of Vastu. But it's even in our epics, and many of you are familiar with the Silapatikaram, being Tamils. It is about a city. If you look at Ramayana, you have the Ayodhya, you have Lanka, Kalidasa's Shakuntalam, or Kautilya's Arthashastra. So you have the concept of architecture embedded there, not temple architecture, but secular architecture. But there are codifications done during the Gupta period, for example. And then subsequently, there is this Samarangana Sutradhara, which is in the 11th century, which talks about secular architecture. And one of the things which struck me, for example, I'm taking a lot of my time, a lot of your time, but I just take 2 more minutes. It struck me is, for example, it says that in the town, in the middle, there should be a banyan tree so that the town council can meet. And this is a beautiful concept because till today, in the heart of Chennai, in a place called Adayar, there is a huge banyan tree from which the greatest cultural organization of India has come up, and it still exists, Kalakshetra. Kalakshetra is under a banyan tree. So some of these are fascinating. And in the Vastu Vidya, they talk about 4 experts coming out of the Lord of creation, Lord Brahma. And the foremost one is, of course, the Sthapati, which is the main builder or the main architect. And among the qualifications for a Sthapati, and this is something interesting, they say among his other qualifications, he should be truthful, he should be joyful, he should be friendly, he should have integrity of mind and body, and he should be free from all vices. What is all this about? It is about the fact that a good and a great architect should just be a good human being. And this is exactly the conclusion which was drawn 11th century, and here he has drawn the same conclusion by sheer passion and experience. And I was really fascinated by this book, and I must say that he is not just an architect for modern India, he is an architect for the modern world. And therefore I'm very happy to be here, and therefore I now realize what Gandhiji actually meant when he talked about that house or his home. You have to build a house which gives you not just physical enjoyment, but also spiritual knowledge. At the end of the day, it has to make you a great human being. Thank you for patiently bearing with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think Guruji for being so articulate in what we always believe of the integrity of the profession. And this is one of the questions I was asked, how do you negotiate this integrity in the present political, economic agendas that are ridden with political agendas in the present times, especially with young architect. And just to remind you, there's only 4 books left on letters to the young architect, which is out there, and please get it because it was one of the 10 top selling books by the Hindu. Now I would like to ask His Excellency to honor our 2 guests, Ram Prasad Adisetti and Professor Dr. Christopher Benninger. These are the 3 UFOs that everyone will say that Sutra has been responsible for.
This is really unique.
And the other 4 books is just still available. Christopher will sign this for you. All your architects must have it in your reference, please. Shiva, thank you very much for the lantern.